Welcome to the 21st Century Man podcast. We're taking our usual deep dive into a single chapter of the book, The 21st Century Man. And today, it's chapter 31, What is Food? Hmm. Seems basic, but there's a lot here.
There really is. And, the insights come from a great team. Dr. Judson Brandeis, who's a urologist, Nancy Fass, a health coach, and Jerry Stein, a nutritionist. So a really well-rounded perspective.
Absolutely. And our goal today really is to kind of unpack what this chapter says food is, fundamentally. It's about giving you, the listener, that core knowledge so you can cut through all the noise out there about nutrition.
Right. And what I love is that it's not pushing some miracle diet. It's more like, here are the facts, here's the foundation, so you can figure out what works.
Yeah, that's so important. The chapter even kicks off by saying, look, there's just so much information, and often it contradicts itself. It's overwhelming.
And it immediately grounds us in genetics, reminding us that the human genome was cracked back in 2003, highlighting just how unique we all are biologically. That's such a key point. And then they layer on top of that, like 60,000 years of human history, people adapting to totally different climates, different local foods.
Exactly. So, your ancestors might have thrived on certain foods that someone else's ancestors barely encountered. And those adaptations, those inherited traits, they really influence how we process food today.
It gets complicated fast, doesn't it? The chapter points out there are tons of genes involved in metabolism, and we don't even fully understand how they all interact yet.
Right. So if your background involves different populations, it makes figuring out your own ideal eating style, well, even more of a personal journey.
And I appreciate the honesty here. The authors flat out say, look, despite all the science, there's no simple genetic test right now that tells you the perfect diet for you.
Yeah. We're still very much in the phase of, paying attention to our own bodies, seeing how we respond, a bit of trial and error, but hopefully informed trial and error. Okay, so let's dive into the first big section, fast carbs, slow carbs. They start with the basics, carbs, proteins, fats, fiber. But crucially, they remind us our individual needs for these vary.
Definitely. Let's start with carbs. The chapter gives this really cool perspective, tracing it back to the sun. Plants use chlorophyll, capture that energy,
Photosynthesis, right.
turning CO2 and water into sugars like glucose, fructose, sucrose. It's like a nature's solar power.
Yeah. Kind of solar factories, and they store that energy, right, as starches.
Exactly. Long chains of glucose, like beads on a string. Animals, including us, store it too, but in a more branched form called glycogen.
Okay, so sugars, starch, glycogen, those are all carbohydrates. The main energy source for our cells, as the chapter says.
But here's the key distinction they make. Slow carbs versus fast carbs. Let's tackle slow carbs first.
Okay, slow carbs. The chapter describes them as fiber-rich. They even point back to the Paleolithic diet, lots of nuts, seeds, roots, greens, loads of fiber there.
Right. That fiber is the key. It means they take longer to break down. The chapter also puts ancient grains like quinoa or farro in this category.
Because they're also high in fiber.
Exactly. High fiber means more chewing, slower digestion, maybe an hour or two, the chapter suggests, so the energy, the sugars get released gradually, no sudden rush.
Which gives you that sustained energy.
Precisely. Nice and steady.
And that leads directly into tip #1 from the chapter. Managing carbohydrate intake is one of the keys to managing weight. Seems logical once you understand this slow versus fast difference.
It really does.
So what about the fast carbs? The chapter uses chocolate chip cookies as the example.
Yeah, a relatable one. So unlike the slow carbs, the sugar in something like a cookie, often sucrose, gets digested and absorbed really, really quickly.
Right, straight into the bloodstream. Big spike in blood sugar.
And that forces your body to release a surge of insulin. Insulin's job is to get that sugar out of the blood and into the cells for energy.
But it's the speed and the size of that surge that's the issue, right? Like a flash flood instead of a steady stream.
Exactly. The refined flour, often used in things like cookies, adds to that rapid absorption. So you get this big insulin spike to deal with the sugar rush. The chapter warns that doing this over and over puts a real strain on your system.
And that repeated strain, that's what can lead to insulin resistance.
That's the connection they make, yeah. And the consequences they list are pretty concerning. Those energy highs and lows, more inflammation, easier weight gain, harder weight loss.
Yeah, it paints a pretty clear picture.
It does. And the chapter explains how excess sugar leads to weight gain. If you don't burn that sugar right away, your body's like, okay, let's store this for later, and it converts it to fat.
And they tie this back to evolution, which is fascinating. For our ancestors, being able to store fat was crucial for survival, when food was scarce.
Absolutely. That humpback whale example they use is amazing, storing enough fat to live off for months. That hardwired survival instinct is still there, but now we have sugar everywhere.
So a system built for scarcity is kind of overwhelmed by abundance.
That's a great way to put it. And over time, this constant high sugar load can wear down the system. The pancreas struggles to keep up with insulin production, cells become less responsive, that's prediabetes, or insulin resistance.
Which contributes to weight gain, stresses the heart, blood vessels, the gut. Okay, so how do we tell the difference easily? The chapter introduces the carb index or glycemic index. What is that exactly?
So the glycemic index, or GI, is basically a ranking system. It measures how quickly a food raises your blood sugar and therefore triggers insulin release compared to pure glucose.
Okay.
Foods rated 55 or below are generally considered low GI or slow carbs. They cause a slower, lower rise in blood sugar. The chapter does caution, though, that online lists can vary, so look for reliable sources.
And the advice is basically try to stick mostly to foods under 55, especially for stable energy and weight management.
Pretty much, yeah. Minimize the high GI stuff foods above 55. They mention some surprises, too, like rice cakes sometimes being higher GI than a sweet potato.
Interesting. So it's not always intuitive.
Not always. That's why looking at a reliable list, like the one in the book, is helpful. Identify the lower GI foods you actually enjoy and build meals around those.
The chapter frames this as a way to manage weight sustainably without feeling like you're on some super restrictive diet, always hungry.
Right. They even call it the end of dieting. It's about making informed choices, enjoying food, but understanding its impact.
And that table they include is super helpful, seeing things side by side, like white bread and baked potato at 95.
Yeah.
Wow, instant rice at 90. Even cooked carrots at 85.
Yeah, some surprises there. But then you see brown rice, oatmeal, sweet potatoes all around 55, and plain yogurt way down at 15. It really clarifies things.
Okay, super helpful. Let's shift gears to the next section. What about protein? The chapter really hammers home how vital protein is.
Oh, absolutely fundamental. It's the building blocks, right? For muscles, antibodies, hormones, digestive enzymes, blood, connective tissue, everything. Our bodies are constantly repairing and rebuilding, so we need that steady supply.
And tip #2 comes in here. Protein results in only half the weight gain caused by carbs. Can you unpack that a bit?
Sure. So while your body can technically convert protein to energy if needed, its main job is structural, building and repairing stuff.
Not primarily energy storage like carbs or fat.
Exactly. Unlike glycogen or body fat, we don't really store protein for future energy use in the same way. So lean protein itself isn't a huge driver of weight gain, according to the chapter.
Makes sense. And where do we get it? The chapter lists the two main categories.
Right. Animal sources, fish, poultry, red meat, dairy, eggs. And plant sources, beans, soy, peas, chickpeas, peanuts, lentils, even mushrooms, nuts, and seeds. Lots of variety.
And protein is made of amino acids, 20 of them.
Yep. And 9 of those are essential, meaning our bodies can't make them. We have to get them from food or supplements. The chapter also mentions peptides, just short chains of amino acids.
Okay, now the big question, how much do we need? The chapter mentions there isn't total agreement.
Yeah, there's definitely debate. You've got paleo and keto folks often favoring higher protein, while some plant-based approaches advocate for lower amounts.
But they do give a general range.
They do. For a roughly 160-pound man, they suggest somewhere around 3 to 7 ounces a day, cooked, or in grams, about 0.8 to 1.7 grams per kilogram of body weight. It's a ballpark.
And some people need more, right? Athletes, bodybuilders.
Exactly. Active people, pregnant women too. They even mention a study showing protein supplements helped older adults, average age 75, build muscle with weight training.
So individual needs really vary. The chapter advises paying attention to how you feel with different amounts and types of protein.
Totally. Plant versus animal, fish versus beans. See what works for your body. And importantly, if weight loss is a goal, remember that very high protein still means calories, so balance is key.
Right, it's not a free pass. What about not getting enough protein? Are there symptoms?
Yeah, the chapter lists some. In developed countries, it's often seen in the chronically ill, older adults, or those facing poverty. Signs can include thinning skin, hair, nails, muscle loss, feeling hungrier, getting sick more often, higher risk of fractures, even fatty liver.
And too much. Any short-term signs?
Sometimes, yeah. Things like indigestion, constipation, or diarrhea, maybe dehydration, feeling tired or irritable, headaches.
And long-term risks.
Well, the chapter mentions potential links between very high intake over time and issues like bone loss and increased risk of heart disease or certain cancers, especially related to red and processed meats. So again, balance seems important.
How can we make sure we're digesting protein well?
Good question. Stomach acid and pancreatic enzymes are key. They break protein down. The chapter mentions that some people find over-the-counter HCl or enzyme supplements helpful if they feel heavy or bloated after protein meals.
And for plant-based eaters, getting complete protein.
Right. Most plants don't have all 9 essential amino acids on their own. But as the chapter explains, combining different plant foods works. Like the classic beans and rice combo together, they provide the full set.
So strategic combining is the way to go.
Exactly. They also touch on amino acid supplements, noting the quality is better now. Might be useful for vegetarians, vegans, athletes, or people with absorption issues, or even mood swings, potentially. Available as powders or capsules.
Okay, good info. Let's tackle the next big one. Good fats, bad fats. Pip #3 here is, healthy fats support good energy and provide raw materials for hormones and brain function. So fats aren't the enemy either.
Definitely not, at least not the right kinds. The chapter stresses that healthy fats are actually our most efficient energy source. Plus, they're crucial for making hormones. Our brains are mostly fat, they protect our nerves.
The myelin sheath, right.
Exactly, and they're vital for cell membranes. But, and it's a big but, the wrong fats can cause major problems.
Like what?
Well, the chapter links bad fats to increased heart disease risk, raising bad LDL cholesterol, lowering good HDL, possibly higher cancer risk, and messing up cell function because they sort of crowd out the good fats.
They even mention links to serious conditions like MS and Parkinson's if there are fatty acid imbalances.
Yeah, impacting those nerve coverings, it highlights how critical the type of fat is.
So what are the healthy oils, according to the chapter?
First up, extra virgin olive oil. Praised for being heart-healthy, tasty, nutritious. Good shelf life, too. But lower smoke point, so better for salads or light cooking, not high heat. Refined olive oil is milder but less nutritious.
Okay. What about coconut oil? It's been popular.
It has. The chapter notes it adds flavor, has a decent shelf life, and a higher smoke point, so better for stir-frying. It contains those MCTs, medium-chain triglycerides, which are used for energy more quickly, maybe boosting metabolism slightly.
Virgin coconut oil for flavor.
Right. But they do say the research comparing its overall health benefits to olive oil is still developing.
And then there's MCT oil itself.
Yeah, basically just the extracted MCTs from coconut oil. It's liquid, clear, flavorless, mixes easily into dressings, coffee, like that bulletproof coffee thing for keto folks. Quick energy.
Gotcha. And clarified butter, or ghee.
A staple in Indian cooking, milk protein is removed, so maybe better for dairy sensitivities, and it has a very high smoke point, great for high heat cooking.
Okay, those are the good guys. What about the bad fats?
The chapter points to decades of research showing their downsides. Top of the list, trans fats.
Where do we find those?
Often in commercially deep-fried stuff, fries, donuts where oils get overheated or hydrogenated. Also, tons of processed foods. Crackers, chips, cookies, pastries, microwave popcorn. Hydrogenation makes oils solid and shelf-stable like in margarine or Crisco. The chapter kind of flags that solid at room temp thing as a warning sign.
Right, then saturated fats.
Found in fatty meats, poultry skin, high-fat dairy, lard. But the chapter adds an interesting note. Recent research is looking again at plant-based saturated fats like coconut and palm oil. The picture might be more nuanced than we thought.
Okay. And rancid fats. That sounds bad.
It is. Many common vegetable oils, canola, corn, soy, sunflower, safflower, are unstable. Exposure to air and light makes them oxidize, become rancid. This creates harmful stuff and reduces nutrients. And you might not even taste or smell it until it's pretty bad.
So freshness is key.
Absolutely. That's why more stable oils, like olive and coconut, are gaining favor. The chapter also mentions smoke point. Again, the temperature oil breaks down and burns. Use heat-stable oils for cooking, delicate ones for salads.
And that quote about discarding oils older than 6 weeks.
Yeah, from Dr. Leo Galland, a strong recommendation to avoid rancidity.
Wow, okay. Lots to think about with fats. Now on to fiber, which the chapter calls the most underrated food group.
Huh, I love that description. And technically, it's not even food in the sense that we digest it for calories. It's the structural part of plants our bodies can't break down.
But it does important work as it passes through.
Crucial work. It keeps the digestive system clean, helps with bowel movements, can bind to cholesterol and carcinogens, helping flush them out. It's like an internal scrubbing brush.
And the chapter warns about low-fiber diets.
Seriously warns. Links low fiber to constipation, then diverticulosis, those little pouches in the colon, and potentially diverticulitis, which is a nasty infection, sometimes needing surgery, even a colostomy.
Wow. And they say these are common.
More common than people think, especially as we age. but largely preventable with enough fiber, they stress.
Which brings us to tip #4. Fiber-rich foods support healthy gut function and fill us up without causing weight gain.
Exactly. It helps you feel full, which can help manage weight. The chapter even suggests eating a big salad daily. Fiber keeps things moving, feeds good gut bacteria, aids digestion, blood sugar control, cholesterol, the list goes on.
Yeah, they link it to protection against reflux, ulcers, hemorrhoids, even colorectal cancer, and reduced rates of obesity, hypertension, diabetes, heart disease, stroke. It's powerful stuff.
It really is. The chapter breaks it down into soluble and insoluble fiber.
Soluble dissolves in water.
Right. Forms a gel, helps lower cholesterol and glucose, found in oats, peas, beans, apples, citrus, carrots, barley, psyllium.
And insoluble.
Doesn't dissolve, adds bulk, helps move things through, good for constipation. Found in whole wheat, bran, nuts, beans, veggies like cauliflower, green beans.
And how much do we need?
The RDA mentioned is 38 grams a day for men 50 and under, about 3 tablespoons. And 30 grams for men 51 and older, about 2 tablespoons. The main message is make fiber a regular thing by shifting to those slow, fiber-rich foods.
Are there times to avoid fiber?
Yes, important caveat, during active GI flare-ups like diverticulitis or with conditions like Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, or bowel narrowing, definitely consult a doctor in those cases.
What about gluten sensitivity, since grains are a big fiber source?
Good point. If grains like wheat, barley, rye are out, the chapter assures that vegetables can provide all the fiber you need.
Okay. And the connection to the microbiome.
Crucial. Fiber is basically food for our good gut bacteria. A healthy, diverse microbiome helps with digestion, immunity, allergies. Eating lots of different plants, especially veggies, feeds those good bugs. They ferment the fiber and produce beneficial compounds.
Fantastic. So to quickly recap the key takeaways from this chapter. Tip 1, managing carbs is key for weight. Tip 2, protein causes about half the weight gain of carbs. Tip 3, healthy fats are vital for hormones, brain, energy. And tip 4, fiber fills you up, supports gut health without the weight gain.
That sums up the core messages really well.
This chapter is just such a great foundation, isn't it? Dr. Brandeis, Nancy Fisk, Jerry Stein.
Yeah.
They've laid it out so clearly, it really cuts through the confusion.
It really does. And I love the focus on understanding why, not just what. It empowers you, the listener, to make smarter choices that actually work for your own body instead of just chasing the latest fad.
Totally agree. We really encourage you to grab the 21st Century Man and read Chapter 31 for yourself. There's so much more detail and practical advice packed in there. It can genuinely help you take charge of your nutrition.
It's a fantastic resource. They managed to make complex science feel accessible and, most importantly, actionable. You can start applying these principles right away.
So definitely check it out. And please join us next time on the 21st Century Man podcast. We'll be tackling Chapter 32, Kicking Sugar. Should be another insightful one.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.